What is going on, guys? Jeff back here with more Project Zailas. We got the Z out here again, looking like a monster truck out here, all aired up because we are doing side skirt work today. I showed you guys in the previous video the new side skirts that we're going to be putting on the car. If you want a good look at them, go back to that other video and watch that, and you'll get a better look. But we are going to be putting them on the car today. At least test fitting them. We're not going to have them mounted completely. We're not going to be doing all the 3M tape and everything that it requires to put them on, because I'm just going to have to take them back off again, and I don't want to waste all that tape. So we're going to end up taking the stock side skirt off and doing a raw test fit on these new side skirts. These are Vicrez side skirts. I've not made any adjustments to them whatsoever. I haven't done any sanding or anything at all right now. They are exactly the way they came from Vicrez when I got them. So we are going to see if they fit, if they're a direct fit on the Z, or if there's any modification that we need to make. Got a pretty good track history with Vicrez. The bumper that I ordered from them fits really good, and the wing, the Rocket Bunny wing, the polyurethane wing, fit awesome. So I'm not too worried about the fitment on these. I think it's going to fit pretty close, but most of the time you do have to make little minor adjustments. So I am expecting to have to make some little adjustments, especially for pieces like side skirts. They can be particularly troublesome when it comes to aftermarket versus stock fitment. So I am expecting to have to make a little bit of adjustment, but we will see. The fitment on the stuff that I've ordered from Vicrez has had a pretty good track history, so we'll have to see where it's at with the side skirts. So let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and get the side skirts off of the car. It's not a very big deal at all to do that. It's very simple. You just take the two black plastic clips off of the back portion of the side skirt. There's one black clip in the front there, and then there's one underneath as well in the front. And then it's just a series of 10mm bolts underneath the side skirt. I believe there's somewhere between 8 and 10 of them, somewhere in there. So I've got my little handy dandy 10mm ratchet there and a flathead screwdriver to get the black clips. So let's go ahead and get the side skirt off, and then we'll just do a raw test fit of this new side skirt and see what it looks like. Should be dope. Alright, so with the side skirt removed, we can now go ahead and start doing our test fit on our new side skirt. Now it's important to point out that the factory side skirt has little clips on the inside of the side skirt that actually clip into those little holes that you can see there along the side. There's 3 on the back, several inside the door there, and I believe 3 in the front as well. There's little clips that go on the inside of the side skirt. Let me show you here. These guys here, these actually clip right into those holes there, and unfortunately the new side skirts do not have those, so they're going to be mounting a little bit differently than the stock ones, in that there are no clips anywhere where they would previously be on the factory side skirts. So you do have to use the 3M tape along the upper edge of the side skirt there to keep it fastened to the top portion there. I do wish they had the clips on the back of these. It's one thing I'll say right away, but they don't, so we are just going to have to use the 3M tape. As long as you're using the super strong stuff, the 30-pound capacity, then you should be good. There are flaps along the bottom section of the side skirt as well, as you can see there. And these are going to be used to mount to the holes on the bottom where the factory hardware, this hardware right here that we took out underneath the stock side skirt, you are going to use 3 of those holes. There's 3 flaps on the bottom of the side skirt. You're going to drill into those and mount 3 of the factory screws back up underneath there, and that should hold the bottom section. These flaps right here will slot into the bottom section of the car quite nicely, and then you can just drill into it and use the factory screw to keep the bottom section of the side skirt in place. We will also be using the black clips on the edges here. You can see there's indentations there where the general position of the black clips are supposed to go on the sides, so we'll definitely be putting the black clips on the sides as well as the 3M tape and the screws on the bottom. And I don't think the side skirt is going to go anywhere. I think we'll be just fine, but I am of course going to need to clean that off really good, get all that old dirt and everything out of there before I can put my 3M tape. That way it'll stick real hard on that. So let's go ahead and do a first test fit of the side skirt. All right guys, so we got the side skirt roughly mounted on there, and the first thing I'm going to say is, damn, that looks so sick. It looks so good with that vent in there. Of course the color doesn't match and it's super dirty and it's just loose, but man, that looks good. Can you imagine that with a nice little splitter underneath and everything? Wow, I'm gonna have some fun with this. But with that being said, we are definitely not fitting on there right out of the gate. We have a lot of modification to do. Well, I wouldn't say a lot, but we do have some modification to do. I'm gonna point out a couple of things for you guys. Let's open the door here. Unfortunately, it wasn't quite a direct like a glove fit as much as I would have liked it to have been. Wasn't terrible, but in some areas there's just no way that it's correct. So I'm going to start right here. In this area, it's actually just fine. There's no problems whatsoever. This kind of slots right in here. It's neither too thick nor too thin. It's just right through this upper portion right there. And that's really good because that's a key area to make sure that the skirt is slotted into the right position. You really want to make sure that you have that in the right area, and fortunately everything fits good through there. It's through the ends, through the back end, this section right here, and through the front on the other side that we start to have a lot of trouble. Hopefully you guys will be able to see this, but right in here you can see this large gap that we have in here. And if you can see in there, there is a little ledge of polyurethane that you're supposed to put the 3M tape on in that ledge to stick up to the underneath here. But the problem is that this is way too thick and this will not sit flush to the body of the car because that polyurethane back there is just too thick. So that will need to be shaved down a little bit. Not completely, we still need a little bit of edge to attach our 3M tape, but we do need to shave down a little bit in there. I can see where it's making contact with the body of the car right there just because the polyurethane is too thick right there. So I got to take my Dremel and just shave away a little bit of the polyurethane on the inside there to get this to sit flush. So I'll just take a little bit at a time away until it sits flush. This kind of thing will take a little bit of time because you got to keep taking it off and putting it back on. You definitely don't want to take too much off to the point where it's going to ruin the piece. So just a little bit at a time until we get it to sit flush. Same thing is happening back here. You can see, maybe you can see this a little better even. That's not sitting flush right there because this ledge right here is too thick. And so I will need to shave that down. And this back here is actually not fitting real well either. It's a little bit too much space between the flap right here and where the mounting clips are supposed to go. So I'm definitely going to need to try to adjust this skirt. Again, it is just mounted on there very loosely, so I may still be able to get a little bit of horizontal movement out of it to remedy that situation right there. But I can clearly see that some of that plastic back in there is going to need to be trimmed down. I will need to be careful though not to trim so much that I will not have a surface area for my 3M tape. So that's going to be the first problem that I'm seeing. Kind of the same deal going on in the front section here. You can see right here, too much polyurethane in the back. It's too thick, it's not sitting flush. We're getting the same overhang right here on this side as well, which tells me that this is definitely going to need to be modified, particularly on my car. If you're running a stock body Z, this may not be too much of an issue right here, but for me, because of my aggressive wheel setup, this is not going to work at all, because when my wheels turn outward, the back part of the tire right here is going to rub. It's going to catch that real bad right there and rip the whole skirt off. So I'm going to need to either figure out a way to shift this back, or worst case scenario, shave this off completely and make a new sidewall for it a little bit more shallow so that my wheel has clearance right there. But regardless, I am going to need to shave away a little bit of that thickness in the back right there in order to get this to sit flush. Back over on this side, it's not too bad. It's sitting pretty flush. It's only about 1/8 of an inch or so sticking out. Can't really tell from the camera, but I will need to take off just a tiny little bit, about 1/8 inch back there, and then gradually a little bit more till I get to about 1/4 inch of polyurethane I'm gonna need to shave off in the back right there. So the general fitment is okay. I mean, it fits, it slots in where it's supposed to be, but it's definitely not flush to the body. I'm gonna need to make adjustments. Definitely need to take away some of that thickness back there in order to get this thing to sit exactly where it needs to sit. So I'm very glad I test fit it and didn't just throw the 3M tape on there. Always test fit your pieces. So anyway, let me get this thing off the car, and then I'm gonna actually bring the skirt over to the stock one And then I'm going to reference, because if you look at this is the factory side skirt here. If you look at the plastic on the upper portion right here, the stock one, you can see it's really thin. It's a little thicker on this side. This is the front. A little thicker toward the wheel, and then a little thinner toward the back. Well, on the Vicrez side skirts, it's this thick, like all the way back. So you can clearly see where we're going to need to shave down a little bit of that. Not too much, but just a little bit in order to get that gap to close up. Same deal on the other side. Whereas that polyurethane on the Vicrez side skirt comes out to about here, we're going to need to shave it down closer to somewhere in this area right here. Maybe not quite this close, because we still do need a backing on it so that it doesn't sink in too much. But we're going to take it down a little bit. You can see here there's indentations cut in right here too that are not present in the Vicrez side skirts. Those will need to be put in too, because they're clearly there to clear parts of the body that come out into that slot. You can see right here as well, there's clearly an area of the body that needs to be able to come in right here, and that is not there on the Vicrez side skirt, so I will need to put that in there. I believe there's one on this side too. Yeah, right here. We basically have to match up this shape that's on the factory side skirt. You can see that notch right there as well. Same deal, I have to put those exact same notches in the new one for it to fit like a factory side skirt. Unfortunately, they don't do that for you before they ship them out, but it's definitely something that's easy that you can do yourself. So let's take the thing off and compare the two skirts side by side and see just exactly what we're going to need to do here. Alright, so here we have the two skirts side by side, and we can clearly see what I was describing earlier once I get a focus here. So you can see, here's the factory one, you can see how thin that is right there, and here's the Vicrez side skirt, a lot thicker right through here. Now a little bit of this thickness is intentional. You don't want to just take it all the way down, because a little bit of that is meant to be there so that it has a backing to rest on when you push this thing on. You want to make sure you do have a little bit of that, so don't go crazy with your Dremel and just take that all the way down. But this little notch right here on the factory one definitely needs to be there. You can see that's not there whatsoever on the Vicrez one, so we're going to need to cut that notch in for sure right there. And then back here, you can see it's just all the way across with the thickness there, whereas on the factory one, you can see where this is all recessed. So we're going to need to put that recession in right there. Clearly it's there for a reason, and it will need to be there on the new one as well. Through here you can see the material is a lot thinner here than on the Vicrez one. Some of this material will need to be shaved away in order to get more of a flush finish. It's very thick in here. Of course, it's intentionally made thick so that it's strong. I can appreciate that for sure, but it's not going to lend to a real good fitment that way. So I will need to Dremel away a little bit of this extra thickness in here to match something a little closer to that. That way it will fit on a little bit more like a glove. Through the front, same deal, just like I was describing. So right here we have pretty close in the thickness from the factory to the new one right here. I'm definitely not going to need to take too much away right here, especially in the front section, although I will need to put that notch in. As you can see, the notch here on the factory one needs to be there on the aftermarket one as well. But it's through this section right here that we're definitely going to need to make some modification. You can see where it gets real thin, especially right here in this back section right here. It recesses down quite a bit, down to about 1/4 inch right there. I will definitely need to mimic that on this as well. I will need to get rid of some of this polyurethane and put that little recess in right there. And I think that should do a lot of good for the fitment of these side skirts. Now, unfortunately, I still do have to make that adjustment on the front there where my wheel was going to hit that. So I've been thinking about it, and I think that unfortunately the only option that I'm going to have is to cut a little bit of that away, this section right here, and re-fiberglass up a new sidewall for this thing without quite an extreme type of a bulge right here in the bottom section. That way I can be sure that the tire is not going to have any issues with contact with this thing. I wish I did not have to do that, and like I said, you probably would not have to do that if you're not running a wide body car or a car with extreme wheel fitment like I am. So if you got a stock body car and your wheels aren't quite as aggressive, you don't need to do that at all, but because I'm running the setup that I am more than likely going to need to make that modification there. But I'm going to deal with that later. For now, let me get my Dremel out and we'll make these adjustments up here. Alright guys, so about a half hour later, I have gone in with my Dremel and made several adjustments. I'm going to show you right here. Start with this side right here. Let's get a focus. So this was the stock one here with the recess and about the 1/4 inch lip along the top here. This is the Vicrez one. You can see how we have now modified it. We have taken this section right here down quite a bit. I also shaved off a lot of excess polyurethane that was kind of bunched in this area here. I've shaved that down to more closely match what the stock one looks like. I also shaved down the entire lip along the edge here, not completely, but I shaved it down a good 1/8 of an inch at least there, so we should be able to get a lot closer to flush fitment there. Back to the stock one, you can see here's the recess that was in there, and then you can see that real defined kind of S shape in there. So I went ahead and put that same exact kind of pattern in the Vicrez skirt here. I added the recess right there, and then I took out a lot of excess polyurethane in here and got that nice little S shape out of it right there. Previously this was all just kind of one blob of polyurethane in there. You couldn't really make out that S shape that slots into the door jamb in there, so I went ahead and took my Dremel and got in there and took a lot of that excess stuff out. Of course, I was careful not to get in so deep that I actually went through the polyurethane, but I was able to define that shape so it should fit in there a lot closer to the factory side skirt, a lot closer to what it's supposed to look like anyways. So that's what we're looking like along the back section. We may still need to take more of that out, I'm not sure yet, but that's what we've done so far. And in the front section, same deal again. You can see here's the factory one. It has this little recess area right here, and then it just gradually gets thicker, and then it has the other notch right up there. So on the Vicrez one, I went ahead and just added a little recess right here, as opposed to the thickness that was previously there all the way across. I just went ahead and tapered it in a little bit and took the recess down to right here. I also took a little bit of the polyurethane out of this edge right here where it was bunched up too much, and then over here you can see where I've added that recess right here where it needs to be to clear the front section. And then I took a little bit of the polyurethane out of this section right here as well that was too clumped up in there. So with all those modifications being made, I'm going to go ahead and try to test fit the side skirt one more time and see if we got any closer at all. I suspect that we definitely will be at least closer. Like I said, we may need to come back and make a little bit more of an adjustment, but I think we're going to be a whole lot closer than we were before. So let's give it a shot. Alright guys, so yeah, you can see that that's definitely looking a whole lot closer to what it's supposed to look like. I am going to need to take off just barely a tiny little bit more. In fact, I may not have to take any more off once it's secured on there completely. It is looking flush as I push that in there. This is flush to the body now with that extra polyurethane taken out on the inside. This is also slotting in there a whole lot better than it was with that little defined S shape that we put in there. And this line, of course, is still fitting great. And this back here is fitting a lot better now with the little recess in the back. We still have a little bit of overhang, but that's not going to be a big deal on the back section because we don't have any turning on the back wheels there, so we're good there. It's sitting flush all the way across from the back here all the way to the front. What I am going to end up doing is taking out just a tiny little bit more right in here. Let me lift this tape up. As I hold this up right here, so you can see how close that's starting to look there. So I don't think I'm going to need to take any more out of the back of that, but I am going to shave off just a tiny little bit right there so that this section isn't quite so bunched in there. And I think that's going to sit perfectly. I may just shave off like a 1/16 of an inch more in there and a little bit more right there. Let's take a look at the front. All right, so the front, you can see in there, you can see where that little spot right there of the inner fender well guard needed to come into that little slot. So you can see why that slot needed to be there. So that's perfect now. We have that little slot in there so that can fit. And then back here you can see the little slot that we added in there too is for that little body bump that's in there. So that's perfect. Let's lift this thing up and see what it looks like. All right, so that is looking real good now. We got flush with the body right here, flush with the body right here. and just that overhang that we're going to need to deal with that I explained earlier. I am going to end up cutting that off, I have the feeling, but yeah, that's looking real good. We left a little bit of the lip in there so it's not sunk in or anything. It's sitting right where it needs to sit. I'm very satisfied with that at this point. And yeah, I think we don't have to make any further modification to the lip here on the front section. I think we're good with that. It's just this section right here that we need to deal with. But overall, I think we are about there with these side skirts. If you were not running a wide body and didn't have extreme wheel fitment the way I do, you would be about done with these side skirts, I have a feel. You would just go ahead and put the 3M tape along the top edge, drill it in the 3 points underneath, and you'd have some sick side skirts. Man, these things look great. Again, bear in mind, they're just kind of hanging on there real loose, so the body gap is extreme. But look at that, guys. That's going to be insane once the color's all matched and everything's on with the splitter. And also bear in mind, the car is still aired up, so it looks super ugly right now. But dude, those skirts are going to be sick. So I am going to go ahead and make my modifications off camera to the front section. I want to get these skirts on as quickly as possible, so I got to kind of work fast here on that. And I'm going to turn the camera off to do all that. I'm going to tell you though, basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my Dremel, I'm going to lay a piece of packing tape up over this section right here. I'm going to draw a line from this body line straight down. I'm going to maintain a tiny bit of this corner right here because when the wheel comes in, it's not going to catch the very bottom part. It's this center part right here that I'm the most worried about. So I'm going to just draw a line and cut off probably a 1/2 inch of this right here. And then of course, this sidewall will be gone. I will need a new sidewall, so I'm going to fiberglass at that point a new sidewall from the inside of the side skirt, and then I will body fill on the outside of it to get the all the shape and everything nice and clean, make sure it looks good, and then we will be good to go. This will not cause any more problems. It's basically all I'm going to do. I'm not going to show that on camera, but that is what I'm going to do. Other than that, I think we are good to go. So what do I think of these side skirts? Well, I think they're fantastic. I really like them overall. They look super dope and they're indestructible. They're never gonna break on me, so I love that. As far as fitment is concerned, it wasn't great. I have to admit, it wasn't great. There was definitely a lot that had to be done. These are not side skirts that you can just order. At least my set. Every set is different. They pull these things out of a mold and you will never get 2 sets that are exactly the same. So at least this set that I got was not perfect. I had to do a lot of adjustments to get the skirt to sit flush to the body of the car. So I'm just speaking for my set here. Your set may fit perfectly, like right when you get it. It's doubtful, but it may. But what I had to do is, as you guys saw, I had to trim out a little bit of the polyurethane on the lips on the inside there. But after that was done, it fit great. It looks like it's fitting really nice. So once I get my 3M tape and everything on there, it's going to be perfect. So I can just go ahead and do the modification to the front that I need to do, send these things back off to paint, get them back, and I'll have them on the car real quick. It's going to be so dope. So overall, I'd say 8 out of 10 on these side skirts. As far as looks are concerned, one of the sickest looking side skirts for the 350Z in my opinion. Can't really go wrong looks wise. I love that duct. It's not too much. It looks really good, especially if you got an aggressive car. Definitely complimentary. Durability wise, 110%. These things are never going to break, as I've said a few times already. So you don't have to worry about that. It's not like a fiberglass piece where you run the risk of it cracking along the line. So 110% A++ on that. Fitment wise, that's going to be where you're going to take a little hit with these. Again, at least with my skirts, fitment was probably like a 7 out of a 10, 6 or 7 out of 10. I had to do a little bit more work than I would have liked to have done, but it is definitely something that you're able to do. It's not like they don't fit and you're shit out of luck. You definitely can get them to fit, but it will require a little bit of work if your skirts are like mine. So should you take the jump on these skirts? Yeah, I definitely think so. If you want some cool looking side skirts on yours and you're not afraid of doing a little bit of modification to get them to fit, I think they're awesome. So that's my little mini review. Of course, I will give you guys a bigger look at the skirts once they're body matched and fully mounted to the car. I'll have a nice little side splitter along the bottom and all that. They're gonna be looking so dope, guys. I can't even begin to tell you. So stay tuned for that. Yeah, I like it. There's your first look at the new side skirts for Zailas. So that is gonna be it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Oh my God, I've got polyurethane all over my face from my Dremel. and everything. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Just a quick sneak peek of the side skirt action going on the Z. I will have these things completely done for Weekfest. They're not going to make it for Car Mecca, unfortunately, but for Weekfest San Jose and LA, I will have these side skirts mounted to the car, and probably even a little bit more. I'm doing some little canards and some extra little things I'm designing right now just to spruce them up, make them look real cool, so stay tuned to that. I think you guys are really gonna like it. This car just keeps on getting better and will continue to get better. This build will never end. It'll never come to a conclusion. I think there's always gonna be little things that I'm gonna be adding to it, so hope you guys will stick around with me and see what we do next. Who knows? I don't even know what's gonna be next for this thing, but I can give you a little hint that we are going to be moving into some performance stuff before too long, so that is going to happen. I want to get some more power out of this thing. Anyways, that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, guys. As always, God bless. I will see you in the next one.